60 Minutes Overtime.
This week on 60 Minutes, we reported on the 238 Venezuelan migrants who were deported from the United States 3 weeks ago. They were flown from Texas to a notorious maximum security prison in El Salvador, where they're being held as part of an agreement with that country's president, Nayib Bukele. The Trump administration claims that all of these men are terrorists and violent gang members, but we could not find criminal records for an overwhelming majority of the prisoners.
Photojournalist Philip Holsinger has been working in El Salvador for more than a year. He's been to some of the country's largest prisons, interviewing and photographing inmates swept up in the Salvadoran government's controversial crackdown on violent criminal gangs like MS-13. But the most notorious by far is the terrorism confinement center known as Secot, where the Venezuelan migrants deported from the United States are currently being held.
Life in the cell in Secot is the definition of austerity. The bunks are steel. There are no blankets, there are no pillows, there's nothing. It's just a slab of metal. And that's where you sleep. There are no books, there's no television, zero outside communication, nothing goes out, nothing comes in. There's 24-hour surveillance, no misbehaving, no talking. The first time I visited Secot, I was shocked by the silence. The silence is what really got under my skin. And it's like a church.
When the planes carrying the Venezuelan migrants arrived in El Salvador, Holsinger was waiting on the tarmac. He photographed the men as they were shackled, shaved, and stripped, capturing their transformation into Secot inmates. Holsinger wrote about the experience in an article for Time magazine. Some of those photos have been published or televised elsewhere, but most of what he shared with 60 Minutes has never been seen before.
As soon as they came to the door, they're greeted by a sea of black-clad, masked police and riot gear. This is a typical face of the Venezuelans. These are eyes that are asking lots of questions. Where am I? What's happening? What's going to happen to me? A lot of fear in these faces. Their appearance was different than anything I had seen. Literally like they'd just come off the street. They were all in nice clothes. They move them fast and hard, and they intentionally want them to feel that they're powerless. They grab them in the neck, march them down the stairs, and it's rapid and fast and painful. These guys were not allowed to be making eye contact or looking, and a guard came and grabbed his head and forced his head down to tell him, you're not allowed to be looking up and looking around. And then they go right into a room where they shave everybody's head. And they don't shave their heads, tenderly. The guards are just, fast, 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 rapido, 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 rapido. So some of them are nicking their heads. This man really grabbed my attention. He may be a criminal. He may be innocent. He may be a father. I don't know his story at all, but I know his eyes. He didn't fight. Hopelessness just gave in.
One of the Venezuelans who caught Holsinger's attention was this man, who 60 Minutes has now identified as Andre Hernandez Romero. Andre's lawyer told us he is a 31-year-old gay man and makeup artist with no criminal record in the United States or Venezuela.
So this is a young man that I had followed from the bus who was exclaiming that he was soy gay and saying that he was innocent. And he was, being slapped every time he would speak up, but he just, like he couldn't help himself. Then he started praying and calling out, literally crying for his mother. His crying out for his mother really, touched me. You can see, in this photograph, the hair it's not like cleanly shaved. He's got patches of hair. He's grimacing. These guys were in pain. This is a standard body posture that anybody in Secot will be trained in. And in this case, they're handcuffed, but when they're not handcuffed, they literally tie their bodies together so that a few guards can control a mass of people. This posture is a very difficult and painful posture. Right before they go into the scan to be taken to their cells, They're pushed all the way to the ground. I mean, some of them are really hurting.
As he took the last few photographs before the Venezuelans were transported to their cells, Holsinger said he felt he had watched these men become ghosts.
They've been stripped of their hair and their clothes, and they don't know where they're going. All of their personality was gone. Your life just ceased to exist. You're just a person in white clothes now. And I had this sort of sense of, I'm watching these guys disappear.